Okay, with the creative team of Terms of Condition, 6 minute film played at the Wild Sound Festival. We got Patrick, who's the writer producer, and Ursula, who is the director. And kind of this is what's going to happen next. The AI who doesn't accept terms and conditions, I guess, right? So,
Yeah.
which is kind
Exactly.
of a
Yeah,
timely film.
it really
Yeah,
is.
exactly. And just a little background, it was done for the Collaboration Filmmaker Challenge back in 2023. Collaboration Filmmaker Challenge is a 2 week competition that happens in Los Angeles. People can zoom in from outside to contribute, but they drop a quote at the beginning. You base your film on that quote. You've got 2 weeks to make your film and collaborate with as many other people as you possibly can.
Gotcha.
For that year, the quote was, "Our lives begin to end the moment we become silent about things that matter." And we were in the middle of the writer's strike with the actor's strike about to happen. And so everyone was talking about AI.
Yep.
So the quote made me think of a domestic abuse. And I thought domestic abuse would be best served, the message would be best served with a metaphor. And I thought AI would be the perfect metaphor for that.
So, how many of these films were made?
In the entire challenge,
Yeah, I'm just curious.
It's usually over 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
year maybe it was like around 80.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I do remember there was one year where it was over 100.
Might have been
But
last year.
it
Yeah.
was um yeah, and
Do you guys do this every
then
year? Do you
they'll
guys this like a fun? It sounds like a fun. Like it's almost like a 48 hour challenge,
So
but
fun.
you guys have more time
Mhm.
to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time and it's not such a rush job.
Yeah.
So, if you if you take the first few days to write the story and collect your team, plan out a day or two to shoot, then you have, probably a solid 4 or 5 days to edit, do a little post-production and as long as you line people up ahead of times, your sound mixer, your colorist, then
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to stay on schedule. It's like you shouldn't wait until the very last minute and be like, is sound good? Because most people donate their time as a way of creative collaboration.
Sure.
And obviously, a lot of the post production people get, taken up real fast
Yeah.
because there's very few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the purpose of it is really networking. I mean, they give fantastic cash and prizes, but what's been really invaluable have been how you can expand your network using this group. I mean, you hear about through Discord and Facebook, hey, I'm making my film for the challenges on Tuesday. Anyone who can show up and lend a hand, show up. And we jump on board. And I usually do about minimum 5 or 6
Yeah.
projects during that 2 week period. But like our sound person and the person who helped us with some coloring last year on some other projects, they worked on around 20 or 20 more projects during the year.
So the elephant, the dog in your room, the elephant in the room is having a hard time with this podcast, it seems like.
These dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, my dogs are very, very needy,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to just keep them quiet
Oh, I thought it was
by
one
putting
dog. There's multiple dogs.
it's
two.
two.
It's two,
Yeah.
yeah. And they get very sad when they don't have attention. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to just touch them so that they stay quiet.
Mhm.
So I apologize.
No, it's all good. It's funny.
For
It's just like, but now, like, but I'm assuming they look alike because I thought it was just one dog.
two, yeah, they kind of do. They have the same coloring. One's a Boston Terrier and one's French Bulldog, but they both have the black and white.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the CFC is super fun. I recommend it to anyone at
Mhm.
any stage of, working or not working in the industry because it's so unlike anything that you do work wise.
Mhm.
You can drive a lot of the story and the whole process just by, being involved. That's the whole point of it,
Mhm.
which you don't really get if you're just hired to work on someone else's project.
And it's good to take yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote this script, but knew that I didn't have access to the crew that I wanted that week. But Ursula did. And so I went, well, Ursula, why don't you direct this? And Ursula thankfully stepped up and did a fantastic job. It took me out of my comfort zone because I am a bit of a control freak and I
Mhm.
like to direct things that I write. Mm. So I was going like, okay, let's see what somebody else does with something I've
Yeah.
written. And she took it into a very, very different world than I had originally in plan.
That's
And
interesting.
thank goodness, because it was so much better. I think I would have gilded the lily. I would have tried to make it a little more complicated than it needed to be. Um, whereas she went with simplicity, which I was very glad that she did because that way we didn't have a lot of bells and whistles distracting from the performance of our lead actress, Chauncey Trask, who did a fantastic job and carried that film. Just she was jokingly said when we screened last time, she said, "This is like a headshot, 24 frames per second headshot," because it is mostly her.
Yeah.
And
That is
Yeah, the like
interesting
the
where like because it is a complicated subject. So your themes are complicated. So from a tone and plot standpoint, she kind of simplified because it's already, you know what I mean? It's already there. It deserves a couple watches because there's a lot going on in the film, right?
there is
So
a lot going on, and one of the ideas of how to shoot it to shoot it directly from the front, and every single shot is directly level from the front. There's no, you know, up or downward angle to it, or right or left angle to it. And it was to sort of flatten out her space to really make her look not like a human, but like some sort of even, marketing sort of object where it's like it feels fake in a way, but also to have her be at the center of it so that everything else is happening around her. And you're concerned with her while all these other things are just doing things to her,
mhm.
which I thought was could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So just to go back, so they give you like like they say domestic violence. Yeah, that's what the film has to be about.
No, so it was based on a quote. So they have a kickoff party the day before it
Okay.
starts,
Yeah.
the day before the 2 weeks starts. And in that party and also online, they release a quote, and it's usually
Mhm.
pretty famous quote. And what was it?
Our lives begin to end the moment we become silent about things that matter.
So it has to be inspired by that. It should be inspired by that. That's part of the
Okay.
challenge. You can either use the quote directly in your movie, or you don't have to.
Mhm.
But it should have some sort of tie to that.
Yeah.
Although some movies that make it even to the top
Mhm.
15 don't have anything to do with it,
Yeah.
so we don't know what that's about. But we always try to be like, purists about
Well,
it.
it's a
And
loose kind of quote, meaning that like
Mhm.
people could argue
Cool.
thematically. It's all that's what
yeah,
the film's all about, right? So yeah.
Because one of the projects I work on was actually a comedy. I mean, there was people do all kinds of things with that quote. They'll go off in completely different directions. I mean, it's yeah, they don't try to control any of your storytelling other than please base it on this quote. And they do give an award for best use of quote, which we did win an award for that. I was happy with that. But yeah, you don't have to use the quote verbatim. And it's just really mainly about inspiring a thought process rather than I thought of domestic violence. And the immediate thing that occurred to me is I thought, well, that may be a little bit obvious given the quote. That may be a little bit obvious a choice. So I kind of thought, well, maybe if we talk about AI, that will kind of be a wrapper around the message that makes it not so obvious.
Mhm.
And because everyone was talking about AI, it worked out being a two-way metaphor that AI as a metaphor for domestic abuse, but also domestic abuse for the metaphor for what we're doing with AI right now.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming some people can quote unquote cheat this
Oh yeah.
process and
absolutely.
basically dust
Well,
off a little
there's
short script of theirs
it's
and kind of yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And get like free labor and all that kind of stuff,
It's
which yeah.
it's not completely against the rules to just simply have the quote embroidered on something that's on the wall. Like they've already got their script done,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, we'll do a home sweet home sort of embroidering, but it'll be the quote and it'll be hanging on the wall behind the guy.
yeah,
Or, open a fortune cookie and there's the quote.
yeah,
It does say that, in the guidelines that all the production stuff should happen in that two
Yeah.
weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah. And all the pre-production, all that stuff should happen in that 2 weeks. But I mean, yeah, of course, people are gonna do what they want to do because making short films is expensive and time consuming. But also, like, we actually love the challenge for the challenge of it.
Right.
Like, we genuinely want to see what we can create from scratch in
Mhm.
2 weeks. So,
There's also, the thing about doing the challenge is that people will jump onto your project and then you'll stay in touch with them throughout
yeah,
the rest of the year. I mean, we have definitely formed a network and a collective outside the project that, um, like, for instance, one of the filmmakers who I worked on their project in 2022. I've worked with like three or four things during the course of the year that have nothing to do with the challenge. And same
mhm,
way with Ursula. She works on a lot of stuff that I've done between the challenges. So,
yeah, it really does. And also like the crew that I worked with has worked with a lot of the other people on paid projects. So, and we also have like a once a month film meetup that we do here in LA with a lot of the people that we met at CFC. And it's just a place for us to like keep in touch, be creative. If there's multiple projects that have come out of that
mhm.
collective. And so I think it's really important for filmmakers, for most filmmakers, if it calls to them, to be around other creatives. Doesn't necessarily have to be other filmmakers or other people that are even in film or television work, but even people who are artists or writers of, books or anything, designers, because
yeah.
I think that shared sense of what it means to be like an artist in the world and what you need for yourself, few people understand unless you're also a creative
Yeah.
or creative,
But even the practical too of like the shorthand of like what it takes to make a short film, what it takes to make an independent film, right? So like that kind of
yeah.
that nuance. How do you guys know each other?
Film Festival. We met at the Golden State Film Festival. When was that? 2020,
2021,
2020,
2022.
2022. And I had gotten in touch with the Collaboration Filmmaker Challenge in 2019 and wanted to do it immediately. In 2020 and 2021 were dark because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so when I met Ursula, who I immediately spotted as being fantastic at networking, I thought, well, she might want to do this. So we did it together, 2022,
And we
and
collaborated that
yeah.
year too. I wrote something
Mhm,
that he was acting in.
mhm.
Mhm. Were you guys like just attendees to the film festival, or were you guys like
We
having
both had
fun
films
there?
in the film festival, and we, kind of saw each other's films, and Ursula had done this fantastic film called Blackout, which was very, very much in line with the sort of, it was a very character driven kind of horror suspense thing. And I had done a very character driven horror suspense thing. So we immediately went, oh, it's like, okay, well, we kind of have a similar sensibility going on here. Let's work together. And the challenge was the perfect opportunity. So I told her about it. She told everybody who she was working with about it. And, we all kind of created this network out of that. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
and
it is so important to find kindred spirits that love the process as much as you do, and just when you create something and that you're feeling really good about, and then you share it with somebody who is a supporter and they're sort of wowed by it. There's something that builds your confidence about
Mhm.
that. When people are like, wow, this is so cool how you did this.
Mhm.
It's awesome.
Well, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this all kind of started for us in 2022 because we were getting out of the pandemic and
Yeah,
everybody was hungry to work in person with each other and go to film festivals and enjoy the company of other human beings. So
yeah.
it was
Well,
just,
from my experience, it was the flip side of people like who just didn't want to, who got used to the pandemic and didn't want to go anywhere, and it was hard
Wait,
bringing them back to the cinema, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
where are you based?
in Toronto,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Nice.
We used to do a festival in Los Angeles every month. We still haven't gone back yet. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So maybe after the Canadian US relations get settled, maybe I'll go
Yeah.
back. But
Oh gosh.
without fail, we did one for 4 straight years, every single month at the LA Live in Regal Cinemas.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Not my fault, Canada, by the way.
No, no,
Not my fault.
I'm
We're not
totally kidding.
nothing.
But no, but I've loved it because I loved it. It was a good vibe, and obviously LA. It was like because we're going like contrary to the indie, sorry, to the Hollywood world, right? Like it's the indie vibe in Los Angeles, right? It was kind of a cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got Hollywood
Yeah.
there, like you guys, but you still got the indie kind of making like the grassroots films, right? At the same time.
We have so much access to personnel and resources out
For
here.
sure, yeah.
It's just like I would, wish that the indie film world were stronger than it is, because there's so many opportunities here. I mean, everything's kind of become do it yourself.
Yeah.
And we can have the control, we can fund stuff, and almost everybody I've met who's having this fantastic career in Hollywood wants to also do stuff like what we're doing. They want to do stuff that's just strictly creative.
Yeah.
They don't care about box office. They just
Yes.
like, hey, let's make this thing.
Yeah, I talk to those people all the time. They're always kind of doing like it's like a faster process, right? Like they're not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So okay, so tell me,
more
go ahead.
involved in it. And you're more involved in it too,
Yeah,
when it's just a little bit smaller.
yeah. There's not like 10 people to talk to about your idea, right? Like you could just do it, right? So
You do it. Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that we're just doing now is we're creating a web series that's a period piece. So it's like these mini episodes of like a period piece. It follows like a young female artist in a fictional Victorian England and just pooling our resources together and finding a local costume rental place and shooting a lot outdoors at these amazing parks that we have around us is like, you know, this is possible now.
Right.
And also with the special effects capabilities of DaVinci, stuff you can learn in 5 minutes on YouTube.
Mhm.
Um, just changes everything about making your own films and have them be
Mhm.
cinematic.
Yeah. Well, and also, acting in Ursula's project, a lot of people would say when someone pitches this idea of, well, it's a Jane Austen style period piece, they would say, it's like, well, what's your target demographic for that? Well, the target demographic is people who like Jane Austen style period pieces.
yeah.
And I've found that talking with people about this, people go, I love that stuff. It's fantastic. So then you can really build a grassroots audience for yourself by just doing this stuff without being concerned about, well, is it going to get this number of seats in theaters? Is it going to get we're doing it as a web series, so hopefully we'll get lots of views from people who like this sort of thing.
I like it. I like it a lot. So let's talk about this process. I'm curious. Okay, so the 2 week process, how do you
Mhm.
break it down? So you got
Well,
development, script, like I'm just going through the what you already know, but
okay, for
people
I can tell
development,
you
script, pre-production, production, then post-production, right?
from terms and conditions, here's how we did it. I went into the project not wanting to make a film. I went into it not wanting to write or direct anything. I wanted to focus on acting. And I heard the quote, and I was already scheduled to within a day or two, I was scheduled to work on at least three other projects. So I worked on those. I did my one day on each of those projects. And at that point, I went, okay, we're still in the first week. I went, okay, I think I have an idea. Let me write this script. So I dashed out the script. had no location, I had no crew because I hadn't gone into it prepared. So I contacted Joe Creasis, who is the coordinator, and said, "Look, I want to upgrade. I want to be a filmmaker because I want to get this script done." And so he upgraded me, and I immediately went, "Well, where's my location? I think I know who my lead actress is going to be because I'd worked with Chauncey before and seen what she could do and knew that she could play this role from beginning to end. From starting out as like this TGI Fridays hostess who was like really bubbly and nice to
Mhm.
go to a darker, more, abused character in a 6 minute period. And I went, "But I don't think I want to direct this because it's all going to happen too quickly at this point." And so on the Saturday, the first Saturday or Sunday, no, first Sunday. Yeah, I think,
It's a Saturday.
yeah, because it was the day after you shot XCOM, not her own project.
So okay, so for that,
Mhm.
the day one, which is well, the negative day one, which is the kickoff party, happens on Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that Wednesday is technically day one.
Mhm.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was actually on a trip that I had already planned. So I no ideas were coming to me, and I was like, oh, it sucks. I really want to work on something. So Patrick had been texting me. Patrick maybe texted me on Friday. He's like, I think I have an idea for a script, and I was like, okay, great, because I don't really have any ideas. And then, so then over the weekend, he wrote it. I read it. We assembled the team. We scheduled it, I think, for Monday, that Monday, so 5 days later,
Mhm.
we started. We had a friend who had a lease at a like a in an office, and he wasn't using. They had moved out for COVID, but they had a
The
finished
way
lease.
you
So I
wrote
was like,
the script is that you can kind of shoot it anywhere. You just need to kind of have a certain
anywhere. We
speed.
just need,
Yeah.
yeah, we just needed like a blank space, and there was a
Yeah.
this big wall, and I had this idea of making it look like a void, and with all these like funky colors, where it kind of really made it look spacious,
Yeah.
and having the actors like looking around, and um. But so we were able to shoot there, and so that was Monday, and then after that, he immediately went into editing it. I
Mhm.
think 2 days later, he had a rough cut.
Yeah.
And then we went back and forth for a few days. He cleaned up the sound, he added some temp music, and did some preliminary coloring on it. I think we even finished like 2 days early.
I turned it in right before because I did want to continue to tinker and did want to
Sure.
continue to get like
Why
Well,
not? Right? That
something
time.
that
we had it that we could have turned it in
a couple of
actually even
days earlier. Yeah.
only a few days after we shot it.
Yeah.
But I was okay, I'm going to work right up to the deadline, and then I turned it in like the evening of the deadline. They have a midnight deadline, and I think I turned it in just a few hours before the deadline.
Yeah.
So yeah, so usually the kickoff party, and people go to the kickoff party and they, drink a lot of alcohol and stuff, which I think is a terrible idea because, you really need to use your full brain, especially in the beginning part of
But if
the
you're in
challenge.
competition, it's great because you get them all drunk, right? Yeah.
I really like seeing what people do. Like I
I know. I
want
know.
to see people's
Look
best
at you.
work.
Okay. There you go.
It only helps us, but
Yeah.
creatively. But yeah, so like,
Yeah.
negative day one is the party, and then, day one, day two, day three, day 4, pre-production, cast together, maybe doing a rehearsal, getting the script out. And then usually, day 4, 5, 6, you're shooting it, take a few days to edit it, and then adding in the coloring, the music, the final touches, and then submitting it. A lot of people get really hung up on sound. So what I do is like I just block off. I pay a sound guy. I just block them off like for like one day, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, so we can do a few passes because people try to do their own sound, and it's so tedious. I'm sure it's
Oh
so
yeah.
tedious.
I talk about, if you listen to the podcast, I talk about sound design all the time. It's like it's
Oh,
the
Yeah.
key to a short film. Yeah.
yes. And
Mhm.
so I think, you know what? You're really not spending that much money on this. You're paying for food and things like that, and insurance or whatever. But to just get a couple $100 and just reserve a sound guy so that you know what day you can send it to him, and he is just yours to do the sound and get it cleaned up. Saves you days of headaches, and fear, and stress and panic attacks.
I did the sound work on ours because as a picture editor, I do sound as I go. And I thought it's like, yeah, I can get this home, no problem. So, I did that. And it was actually kind of a difficult sound design because the sound design was absolutely nothing except for human voices.
Mhm.
I tried to get rid of all the clothes rustle, which was really, really hard. And so, I mean, the sound design was only human voices and the music. We
We actually won Best Sound.
yeah,
Did we mention that?
we won best
Yeah.
sound for production and post, which is they give it as a single award, probably because they can't figure out which is which. But we we had a we're very very pleased with how that sounded when it played at the theater.
You should do the 2 week film challenge.
Yeah, you
I
can
would. I'm
actually
curious. I did way back when I did the 48-hour film challenge,
Yeah.
and it was interesting. But it's like you can't. It can't. What was irritating is that you. It's like you don't like. It's like any film though, but especially like you don't finish the film. You just like the time's
Mhm.
up, right? To send
Send
it
it
in.
up.
Yeah.
Hands up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were months in post production, afterwards to make sure that we had everything exactly as we wanted it,
Yeah.
to make sure that it was colored right and that it was the composer had put fresh music to it because we'd basically used stock music for it.
But if you are you a writer, director, producer?
Back in the day, I do this now, but I've made a lot of short films. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you have like a little crew or whatever,
Sure.
that, and it's not even about the having the best cameras or whatever. There's always like a few movies that get in that where it's purely based on like, the essence of the film, and
Yeah.
it's not about like the lighting or shot on
Sure.
a cell phone. um but I think it's just a strong concept
Mhm.
is what they're looking for.
And because of the ability for people to pass files back and forth now and edits and things like
Yeah.
that, through the internet and Dropbox and stuff
Your
like that.
sound person, your editor could
Yeah.
be anywhere in the world. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks, I don't know if Patrick mentioned this or not, a couple weeks after the challenge, they rent out a movie theater in Hollywood where they pick, I think usually it's the top 15,
Yeah.
based on a group of judges. Um, and then they screen those, and then the audience can basically vote on like best sound, best acting, best directing, best film, or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's fun to kind of like see people, and a lot of people work on different people's films, and that's part of like the thing too. And so it really fosters a nice community where you're really rooting for people and just so proud of people for
Mhm.
just getting the film.
We were in this huge theater the last few years, the Harmony Gold out here, but it was decided that we'd outgrown that. So we're going to be at the Samuel Goldwyn Theater at the Academy at the Oscar building in Beverly Hills, which I'm, really excited by that. That's a beautiful theater.
Yeah, the guy who started it, Joe Greasis, he's a like a Hollywood editor. He's done a bunch of stuff, and he has a really solid Hollywood network, and so he's always managed to find sponsors for it. And I think Final Draft is one of the sponsors, and really make it an amazing thing for artists. It's I mean I really worship what he's done because um it's for you to even be part of someone's project in any way, whether it's like you're a PA or whatever background, you build such a great connection with the crew that you remember it forever.
Yeah.
And it builds your confidence because you're like, oh, I can do this. I did some cinematography work in this. I did some acting work in this. I did, and it's like, and other people, it's a very positive environment,
Yeah.
and it's all about building each other up, and so it's a beautiful
Well,
thing.
and people can expand their disciplines and do things that, like Eric Glody, who was the gaffer on Terms and Conditions. He and I are going to shoot a project together. We have a production meeting for that tomorrow with an actress who we also know from the challenge. So, we just begin thinking in terms of, oh, I like this person. What can I do with them?
Yeah,
What can I,
and just seeing the potential in people. Eric, who was the gaffer, he likes to work a lot with film, and he has a sort of vintage look to his stuff.
Mhm.
And that's just amazing to explore with someone like kind of at the beginning of their career, you know, to like build these connections when people are still very open and very wanting to collaborate, you know,
Yeah.
without being super busy or whatever.
So I want to talk about the success of the film because it kind of
Mm.
it ties in exactly what you're talking about. Because I love, by the way, on your Film Freeway page, you guys have the list of awards, but you have it in order of when they were screened, which is I don't know why
Mm.
all the most people don't do that, but it's like it's such a good cohesion of like the evolution
Mm.
of your film. Anyways, that's just a small segue.
Yeah.
But
That's all, Patrick.
yeah,
Yeah. I decided a long time ago that when you promise somebody copy, credit, and meal, the food should be good. They
yeah,
should get a high resolution copy, and the credit should be really good. And credit now means you get an IMDb page for it. We have given a lot of people their first awards. Chauncey has already racked up 3 awards, I think, acting awards that are now on her IMDb page.
that's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Okay, so you do the challenge and you have it on your Film Freeway page. So June 9th, 2023. So it's been almost 2 years. And then okay, so a lot of these challenges, like you didn't I didn't know that until you told me because you don't have it on your credits, you just have it in your awards section. So it's a standalone film, right? It's its own film. It was part of this challenge, which is great, but you decided to submit to festivals. It's like, okay, I see something more beyond this because obviously it's a timely subject, it's well performed, it's well directed. You got a lot of good moving parts to it. So what kind of propelled you to like okay, I'm gonna send it out to festivals. And you guys have gotten some big festivals. And
Yeah,
you guys,
yeah.
so what's like that's amazing.
Well, that's been my bucket list with film festivals for 25 years now, has been to get into an Oscar qualified film festival. Not just because I think I might win an Oscar or anything like that, but mainly because that's where I know that the network is going to put me in touch with really some fantastic creatives, and I'm going to get to meet, people who are at the top of their game. I just wanted to play in that field, basically.
Okay.
And so this has been the film that has actually gotten into, at this point, 2 Oscar qualified festivals. One of them, Short Shorts in Asia, in Tokyo, which, I was just like blown away. I really feel like the AI angle helped us out and get into there because
Yeah.
they did definitely want stuff that focused on either using AI or being about AI. And then Vickers, Rhode Island International Film Festival and Vortex International Film Festival, which both of those festivals have sci-fi bents to them because they're Lovecraft country. Providence, Rhode Island is where H.P. Lovecraft is from. So they kind of like horror, sci-fi
Yeah.
genre stuff. So, we're really happy with that. But yeah, film festivals for me, if you want people to see your short film, I think it's the best experience to have it at a theater with a live festival, or even if it's an online festival, if you've got a community of people who watch your film
Yeah.
because they share their responses to it. I love the feedback video. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
doing that. That was fantastic. To really, I'm a stage trained actor and I want a response from a live audience.
Yeah.
And film
100%.
festivals is where you get that.
So shameless plug, though you're speaking of August, I'm Not a Robot was the winner of Best Short Film, played it
Mhm.
at our festival. They got the audience feedback video. They loved it. They helped to promote the film. Not saying it won because of it, but basically it's all about kind of like getting the feedback video out there, getting promoting it. You guys did the short film review. You guys did
Yeah.
the interviews and stuff like that, right? So, anyways,
Mhm.
it's all about
And
kind of
there's
getting it out there, right?
I haven't
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
can link the I have the link to the feedback video that you did for terms and conditions is on our Film Freeway
Yeah, I
page.
see it.
So
Yeah,
that yeah, and I'll eventually put that also link that on the IMDb also. So
I
Yeah, and
never do
Patrick
that.
is
I was just
really
you just set me up with that shameless plug, so I apologize. Thank you. So
exactly.
and Patrick is really great about leaving, you know, detailed reviews for film festivals and so we'll definitely do that for you because you've really gone above and beyond to, you know, it seems like you truly have passion to connect with filmmakers and promote their work and see what's out there, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really a beautiful
Yeah.
thing, and we're happy to support. I mean, we're looking to, maybe do something again for the CFC, me directing and him writing and us producing it together. We're open to that. Obviously, we want to see how it goes, but definitely I hope that's how it goes. Um,
Like I
but
said,
we'll definitely, if it ends up being worthy, we'll definitely
with
submit it again to your
with
filter.
terms and conditions, like I said for the timeline, I didn't even write that thing until several days into the festival, and then we shot it. It was already a week later.
Yeah.
I'd already worked on like 4 or 5 projects that I think had already completed by the point. So, we can definitely make the most use of our time and try and see what happens.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
like I said, I just set that up because it's congratulations on the
Oh,
success
thank you.
of the film. It's getting into these great festivals. And it was like just a challenge. It was like a kind of a contest, or
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It
Right.
was just like that's the amazing thing about it, is that you did it in 2 weeks. And Patrick, you're great in the film. Like you got
Oh,
you're
thank
kind of
you.
Yeah.
a not so good person, I guess. I'm allowed to say that.
He's got quite a range. Yeah.
That's my wheelhouse
Yeah.
to play the not so good people.
Slightly
Yeah.
And it's like I said, great concept, but it's the execution of the concept too. But you mentioned it before, so w would you do that again? Would you kind of like sit back and and produce something but not direct it again?
Yeah, because I trust Ursula. So I mean
So
that's
it's a
I she
specific person, I guess. Yeah.
there's a very I don't know if at this point there's somebody else who I'd be willing to take that chance with, but I've already, I knew Ursula well enough by the time we did that I went, okay, let's see if we can do this. We did it, and it was incredibly successful. And I feel like she found things in the script that I directed it I wouldn't have found.
Yeah.
And
and I had never usually I write my own stuff. So it was also new for me to direct somebody else's vision. But Patrick's writing is so it's very strong. Like the points that he hits, and it really goes to these really intense places
thank you.
that, yeah, that like as a director, it kind of jumps off the page really easily.
Mhm.
And having reading it for the first time, things jump out really quickly. Whereas like when you're writing your own stuff, it's sort of like it goes from draft to draft to draft to draft. It's more of like a refinement process versus you open a box and you're like, whoa, look at that, so
Yeah.
that's kind of fun. But he's a great writer though,
Thank you. Yeah.
and so it's easy. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was, I won't lie. I mean, I was on pins and needles because, like I said, I am a control freak.
Yeah.
I
I
am too,
write,
by the
edit,
way.
and direct everything that I do for the last, quite a few years.
Yeah.
And, when she went with the minimalism, which everyone has responded to so well, my initial thought was, oh, I mean, the short film festivals really like stuff with high production value that looks like it was shot for $1 million. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
are people going to overlook us because we're, being so minimalist? But people have really responded to how well they've served the story. And
Yeah.
and that's the most important thing to me is like your production design, your sound design, everything like that. Serve the story. Don't gild the lily.
Yeah, and people have said like that image of her sort of stuck in the middle of the screen looking forward has, stayed in their mind,
Yeah.
which is what you want, what
And
you strive for, what you hope for.
the point I would like to make is that also because it's not so minimalist, there is full attention on Chauncey Trask's face and her micro expressions and the incredible stuff that she is doing as an actress.
Yeah.
Uh, and on a big screen, which we've seen at this point many, many times at the Chinese theater in Hollywood, on a big giant screen, it is fantastic to look at. The color is just amazing. We had fantastic color from Luke Cahill, and in Monty's performance just really sings. And there's actually something that I would like to point out. We had an accident that on a big screen is really, really obvious. It's a happy accident. And that is Dennis Maloney, a brilliant DP, asked me to cross in front of Chauncey while we were playing the scene together. And so I walked in front of her, just past, I'm a blur as I go by on the screen. Um, but if you're looking at it on a big screen, particularly, it's very noticeable on a big screen. You'd see my reflection in her eyes as I'm walking past her. And that's something that I asked Dennis. I said, Dennis, did you know that that shot was in there? That you can see me playing the scene with her in her eyes?
I mean, yeah, you can even see
Yeah,
him sitting there right
yeah,
before.
yeah. And it's
And
like,
Yeah.
it's and in coloring and post, we tried to make that pop a little bit
yeah,
more even. So
it's a real lesson in when you're acting with somebody, even if you think you're off camera,
yeah.
be an actor, continue to act because my my performance is on screen when you see that. And that's usually something Dennis said, "Oh no, that's I had no idea that was happening when we did it." But it's very, he said, if I tried to get it, I don't know I'd have been able to get it,
Right.
Yeah.
because that's usually some reflection in eyes is usually something people do with visual effects,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
visual effects, because you can see cameras and lights and things
The
like
art of the
that.
happy accidents, right?
The
So
happy accident is like,
happens all the time.
yeah,
On that note, guys, great film. I'm honored.
thank
We're
you.
honored to show it. Keep. It looks like you're still going on a festival run, getting in the festival. So, and I'm sure you guys got like 3 or 4 projects in your arsenals at the same time. So I'm
Hmm.
sure that we'll talk again when you guys make your next film.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's talk again soon.
All right.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.